Hey everyone, welcome back to Portal of Wisdom. I am back today with another story for you. So if you are new to the channel, like and subscribe and click that little post notification bell so you get alerted when I post new videos. And the majority of you are not subscribed, so if you can subscribe, it will help the algorithm and it will tell you when I post new videos, and it will help us bring more good videos to you. So today's story, we are going to talk about some more lost gold. This one takes place in California in the 1800s. And so there was a gentleman by the last name of Goler, and he was prospecting in California in the 1860s. And no one seems to remember his first name, or no one actually knew his first name, or like a lot of times people just go by their last name, and that might have been the case with Goler. But in the year 1867, Mr. Goler was on his way from Death Valley to Los Angeles, and he happened to be on foot. He was in Red Rock Canyon country, and it seems he was prospecting throughout his trip. He was making his way back, but he was looking at everything along the way, which basically means he wasn't necessarily staying exactly on the trails or roads. If you're prospecting, you're looking at all the sides of the canyons, and you're looking for outcroppings, and you're meandering from point A to point B, but you're not going in the most direct route. You're looking at this side of the canyon, making your way to the other side, and so on. And you're making your way in a general direction, but you're not going the fastest way. And it appears this is what Mr. Goler was doing, and it appears this is what he did quite commonly. It also appears that he may have even stayed away from the normal beaten paths and taken some lesser used canyons as he prospected on his way back to Los Angeles. So he was in an area north or northeast of the town of Mojave, California, when he happened upon a spring along his route. So he stopped at this spring to have a good drink of water and refresh himself and have a little bit of rest. And as he drank from this spring, he looked down and he couldn't believe what he saw. Shining in the sunlight was a gold nugget below the surface. He couldn't believe his eyes. You could just reach down and grab this gold nugget, and he did, and he put it in his pocket. And then he began to drink and refresh himself, and then he noticed a couple of more gold nuggets in the water. He knew he had found something special here. A couple of these gold nuggets were quite large as far as nuggets go, and he figured they were worth a good chunk of money. He knew he was a long way from civilization, and it would take a sizable amount of money to come back into these mountains and to work some excavations here and try to figure out where this gold was coming from. But Goler was very excited at the possibility of great riches that this mine or mining this area could bring. So he figured if there were quite a few gold nuggets of decent size in this spring, they had to be coming from a rich gold source up the side of the hill further. And he climbed to the top of a nearby hill on the east side of this valley, and he placed his Spencer repeating rifle in the ground so it would be visible from quite a ways away. This would be his beacon to this location of his gold on his return trip. Now, all he needed to do is get to Los Angeles with the gold nuggets and cash them in for supplies and use them for money he needed for his return trip and his supplies. He also needed some partners to be able to provide some additional money for, decent sized expedition and excavations in these desolate mountains, because they really were in the middle of nowhere, especially in the 1860s. Once Goler was in Los Angeles, he found it was much harder than he anticipated to find people with money that were willing to help with some of the financials of the expedition, even when he could show them the gold nuggets that he had found. I suppose that this area being quite a ways from Los Angeles and not too far from Death Valley, and this area being so rugged and desolate, it may have been too far for some of the people he encountered in Los Angeles, and they may have decided they just didn't want to participate in an expedition like this. And they may not have felt that they could, fund this expedition, especially when only seeing a couple of gold nuggets. But Goler did find one man who was very interested in his gold find, and this man's name was Grant Price Cuttleback. Grant was a full-time rancher and an occasional miner, and he decided he would accompany Mr. Goler back into those mountains to find the location of the gold that had washed down into this spring. Grant went into these mountains with Goler 3 different times, and they were never able to retrace Goler's steps that would lead them back to this spring. Although they never found the spring, they did have a discovery in Red Rock Canyon, which it was said that they worked for several years. It was never said how much gold they found there, but apparently they found enough to keep them going for a while. And all the while, they continued to look for Goler's original find at the spring and had no luck, apparently. After the second find with his partner, it gets a little murky of what happened to Goler. Some sources said that he continued to be seen regularly in the area looking for his original find. Others say he disappeared from the area after that. It appears that after Goler's discoveries in the canyon would eventually bear his name. It's called Goler Canyon today, and a nearby settlement was called Goler Heights. It's known that Goler Canyon would eventually get mined, and get mined fairly heavily. Maybe that started initially with Goler and his partner, and then maybe by others, but it was stated that the canyon did get mined. Now, it's quite possible that Goler's discovery was mined and through these mining endeavors, or since Goler had 2 discoveries in these canyons, it's possible that only one of them was found and mined and maybe produced a pretty good amount of gold. An article appeared in Desert Magazine in March of 1952, and this article had some details about Goler. But of course, by this time, Mr. Goler was long gone, and so was the gentleman that was being quoted in the article. In the article, they talked to a resident of Goler Heights, and this resident's name was Finley Bune. And Finley's uncle was a man named Slate Range Jack, or real name Jack Curlitz. So Slate Range Jack was said to have talked to Goler when he was still alive. And he had asked Goler where he found his gold nuggets, and Goler pointed into the canyon which today bears his name. Another detail that is important to the story happened in 1917. This happened near the mouth of Red Rock Canyon, and near the mouth of Red Rock Canyon sits the Lazy M Ranch that's owned by the Muncies. One day in 1917, the Munsie's widow was out around the mouth of Red Rock Canyon with her son, and they found Goler's gun that he had left to mark his original discovery. So it was not said if they found anything else after they found the gun, just that they found the gun, and apparently they brought it back because then other people had a look at it after that. Other experts in the area have said that there has been at least $1 million in gold come out of that canyon. So it's highly likely, with all of the mining that eventually happened there, it's likely that all the gold may have been pulled out of this canyon already, but you never know. Maybe Golers' original discovery at the spring. It's possible that might not have been found. We may not know. And that is the story of Golers' lost gold. Thanks for listening.